Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. In this video, I'd like to discuss a cabinet change that may not feature on the radar of ordinary members of the public, but it is arguably the most important one of all and the most important thing Boris Johnson has done. And by important, I mean atrocious and another step towards a totalitarian state. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, in Johnson's reshuffle, one member of cabinet that was sacked, amongst many, was the Attorney General Geoffrey Cox, and Boris Johnson has replaced him with Suella Braverman. Now, just to be clear, the role of Attorney General is an important one in cabinet because they are the Prime Minister's main source of legal advice. As such, they have to be well versed and well experienced in dealing with English and Welsh law. These differ in Scotland and Northern Ireland significantly, for which there are others to provide that advice. Now, Braverman has had a strong legal career. There's no doubt about that. But that was in the United States. She worked as an attorney in New York State. Now, that means, although you might imagine she's got a good legal mind, she doesn't have any experience, really. She certainly doesn't have the experience needed to advise the Prime Minister on issues in any part of the UK, certainly not England and Wales. And given that her primary role, the reason for which she was appointed, is going to involve sailing very close to the legal and constitutional wind, that means they're going to be flying blind at times. She's going to be sounding confident on issues she's got no right to sound confident on. Now, in some ways, it was probably understandable that Boris Johnson didn't want to retain Geoffrey Cox as Attorney General. There's no doubt in his credentials for the role. But, you know, he kept coming up with all sorts of legal difficulties whenever Boris Johnson wanted to break the law. Now, when Boris Johnson wants to break the law, he doesn't want his legal advisor telling him that it's unlawful. He wants his legal advisor to tell him how to get away with it. A futile attitude, you might imagine, because no matter what his legal counsel says, it's going to be senior judges who ultimately hold his actions to account. Except Boris Johnson has a little bit of a plan there. And this is where the new Attorney General Braverman comes in. Boris Johnson wants to abolish our independent judiciary. Frankly, the only part of our constitutional arrangement still functioning well in modern Britain, in favour of one he handpicks. And we knew this before this appointment. He even wrote it in the manifesto. It's right there. People who voted for Conservative have voted to remove our independent judiciary. And who better to lead this than someone who is experienced of the very political judiciary that you have in the United States? At least that could well be his thinking. As an added bonus, of course, Braverman has been attacking the independent nature of our constitutional Supreme Court continually, saying that politicians should take control of the judges. And she seems to be relishing taking the Supreme Court and the general judiciary apart. So what does that mean in practical terms? It means the most senior judges in the land will be decided by the government. That means that ambitious judges will be keen to raise their profile for such roles by finding in favour of the government when cases are brought before them. So you get hit both ways when trying to hold the government to account in court. Both lower and higher courts will be presided over by people who are encouraged to do the government's bidding in order to seek promotion. And just like that, the government will be able to do whatever they want. And we already know that Boris Johnson observes no boundaries. He was only stopped from a number of constitutional atrocities last year because we have an independent judiciary. You know, the independence of our senior judges is what allowed him to be held to account. And for all those thinking that they approve of this, oh good, and the reason you approve of it is because you didn't like that the judges stopped Johnson breaking the law on at least 2 occasions last year. You wanted him to be able to do it because he was doing what you thought you wanted him to do. But what happens when another government's in charge? Eventually, governments change. When it's a government wanting to break the law to do something you're opposed to, will you be defending the system then? Will you be going, well, you know, I supported the system then, so I'll support it now. Yes, what they're doing is illegal and I don't want them to do that. But you know what? Fair enough. I supported that system. Or will you be squealing like a pig? Because I know what the Conservatives will be doing, the likes of Mark Francois and Boris Johnson. It'll be a total outrage then, not when they're doing it. An independent judiciary is the only solution for any country that wishes to call itself a nation of law. Any political interference means that you have one law for the elite and one for the rest of us. And that is the law of the jungle. And this is just one way in which the opposition of the last parliament have let us down badly. Because this is an example of what Boris Johnson promised on the notorious page 42 of his manifesto, I believe it was. And there's plenty more in there as well that he's just getting started on. By the time the next general election comes round, we could well be counting a very, very heavy cost for the crass stupidity of that opposition. And all I hope is that at least for next time, they'll have started to fight back. But it'll be a much tougher battle. So anyway, I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.